Okay, so we're talking about Spider-Verse, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So okay, let's talk about Spider-Verse again. So real quick, what were your thoughts on it again?
Hmm.
Did you did you say the first one or the second one that you liked more?
Honestly, they're pretty right now. They're pretty on par with each other. I'm flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I got out of lacrosse, I was saying, or I thought it was better. But thinking about it, I don't know. I need to rewatch it. That's just it.
Yeah, I can see that. Like
Right.
I can see where there's aspects that Into the Spider-Verse are better. Overall, I personally thought Across Spider-Verse was better, but I've also rewatched it, so that's part of it.
Yeah, like
Uh,
20 times.
you're coming off of your first watch back on Thursday. I'm coming off of my third
You're
and fourth watches both today.
Yes, we all know. You've watched
So
it like times already.
we are definitely at different points in our watches with the movie. I've had more time to really digest what it's saying than you. But
Yeah,
I'd say one's still enough to form an opinion, obviously, on the movie. It's a movie. I don't think it
movie.
needs multiple watches for you to say your opinion on the movie. But like I said, I personally preferred Across the Spider Verse, but uh, I can see where there's points that Into the Spider Verse works better. Across Spider Verse definitely harder to access than the first one. There's a lot more to it because it is a sequel, and on top of that, there's a lot more about the multiverse in the movie, especially.
Yeah.
There's a lot more rules for this one that you have to follow. There's a lot more characters this time around. There's a lot more dynamics you have to close in on more. So they're a little more subtle than in the first one.
Most of it.
Yeah, and also this movie is longer than the first one, so it requires more time to block out to
You,
watch it.
honestly, it's not really a problem, but you can really feel the length at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. There are times you can definitely feel the length, especially in like the final 20 minutes.
No, honestly, I was trying my best, and I still did it. I was trying my best not to look at my phone, seeing how much time I had left.
I actually didn't do that the first time, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. Like, I was
I
just,
I could I could definitely feel the ending especially dragged, as I said. I think the final 20 minutes I still liked them, but they did take a while to get to the ending.
not
Like
really after Miles got, like, to the other Earth, like, every 10 minutes, I was like, it's gonna end here, but then it kept
yeah,
going.
there were quite a few points that I thought it was going to be the ending, and it just felt like at the end it just kept stacking on top of itself to have a bigger reveal each time. Because like it was, oh well, Miles is sent back to his Earth. This would be a decent point to cliffhanger the movie, and then oh, Gwen is sent
We
back
should,
to her Earth. That's a decent point to end the movie as a cliffhanger, and then so on and so forth until you finally get that ending with Gwen assembling a team and the yeah the Miles
Miles,
being facing each other. Yeah,
yeah, as soon as we
but
saw the animation style when he went to the Earth, we should have known.
yeah, but at the
It was
same time, I
definitely,
can see why you wouldn't initially think of it because you just think, oh well,
and
obviously
his
it's
mom,
going to be his Earth because that's where he's from.
and his mom was like, "What'd you do with your hair?"
Yeah, they did
It's like,
hint
what?
at it a lot, which on rewatch is very cool. How if you're paying attention and you know what happens, you can tell there were a lot of hints for it before it happens, and that's very cool. I love that
I thought
type of stuff on a rewatch of a movie.
I thought I had missed something with his hair. I was so confused.
Yeah, so was I the first time I watched it because I was like, huh, it's the same hair he's always had. And then when she reacted the way she did when he brought up his dad at one point, that's another point I was confused. I was like,
Who's Spider?
and then yeah, the Who Spider Man is the big, oh, he's not in the right universe thing. That was when I was like, oh, he's in the universe his spider came from. Which I actually
Oh,
saw a lot of people being surprised about with the new one that his spider was from another universe, though I always felt it was fairly obvious.
I
Because
mean,
like
yeah, from
like
his universe,
it
the one
shows
that,
in the very beginning. you know. Oh, sorry, continue.
yeah, yeah, the spider from his universe did bite Peter, so it already had found its person, and most likely it died. So,
And on top of that, they showed the one glitching in Into the Spider Verse, which became associated with which just became associated with multiversal travelers. Oh. But yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious, but I saw a lot of people being kind of confused about the spider being revealed at the beginning of the movie to be a multiversal thing. Although I guess it's one of those points where you just didn't really think about it the first time because it happens before you meet everyone else from the multiverse.
Don't
Like,
forget the effect the bagel had.
oh yeah, the bagel too had a big effect, which was funny. And it's funny now that that's 2 years in a row. There's been big multiversal movies with bagels as a prominent plot point with Everything Everywhere last year, another great multiverse movie. But you know,
Take notes to you.
uh, and then with the whole multiverse, with the whole ending thing where he's in the alternate universe, even though like I said, I did feel the ending drag, I do still like the reveal at the end of the alternate universe Miles being the Prowler. I think I thought that was a very effective twist, although I just wish it wouldn't have happened after it felt like it should have ended like 5 times over already.
You know something else? I think Sony has actually been doing a better job than Marvel when it comes to multiverse.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, honestly. I think the MCU's rules for the multiverse are very messy.
Like we crap on Sony too much, but come on, they can
Yeah. They make
make,
some
make
bad movies, but the Spider-Verse movies make a lot of more sense than MCU does.
yeah, they care that much when it comes to these movies. I mean,
Yeah.
take notes on Venom and Morbius, but it's okay. Make up.
And like compared to compared to like No Way Home and Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness, those two movies have very little connection in their multiverse. They both do very different things with the multiverse that don't really connect. It doesn't really make sense that they're in the same universe, whereas it feels like there's a very consistent set of rules between the two Spider Verse movies and how the multiverse works. They fleshed it out
Yeah,
very well, and
yeah, and
it's got all the whistles. It works really well.
something I think Into the Spider Verse does better, kind of slightly, is the soundtrack. I was just thinking of that.
I would agree with that. I think there are songs I liked more on the Across Spider Verse soundtrack than on Into the Spider Verse. However, I think Into the Spider Verse is a lot more consistent in its soundtrack, licensed music, anyways.
Plus, that
How
one does had a bit better pacing, but
and also it had nothing like Sunflower on its soundtrack.
oh
Like
yeah,
I'm not the biggest Sunflower fan, but there is nothing that big on here. There's
I'd
nothing that
see,
has the potential to become nearly as big.
I'd seen it right now, but you're gonna get copyrighted. You're gonna yell at me for
Yeah, that'd be preferable to
yeah,
not to avoid that.
even though it's just the me singing it. It's not the actual artist.
However, oh sorry.
No, I'm done.
However, even though the soundtrack Into the Spider Verse is better, I think the score is better here than it is in Into the Spider Verse. I think they use a lot of the points they established in Into the Spider Verse and just build on them. I think in particular the intro and final track work both really well on emphasizing a lot of what they built on the original while doing it in new and inventive ways.
Okay, well here I have a question for you.
What?
For what side characters did you like more? Like in Into the Spider Verse, you got Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker,
I
but
think
in this
it.
movie,
Oh,
you got
sorry.
Indian Man, Spider Punk. So who's
I think I did slightly prefer the batch of characters overall in Into the Spider Verse.
mm,
And something I did miss a little bit from Into the Spider Verse is that Peter B. Parker didn't have as much of a presence in this movie. And
yeah,
also I was bummed out by the fact Noir was hardly in the movie.
for like 2 seconds, and he said
And he
nothing.
didn't even
Cindy
have a line. Yeah.
Penny gets one line. That's it,
Yeah, Penny gets to say Miles or something.
and then she says like something else, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's one line though. That much I remember.
Mm,
But there's I do prefer the characters slightly for like the main side characters in Into the Spider Verse to here in Across Spider Verse. And like I said, the presence of Peter B. Parker is definitely felt that it's kind of missing in the new one. However,
yeah,
I think that's kind of balanced out by the fact of how big of a role Gwen has in the movie.
Yeah, your least favorite character.
Yeah, my favorite character in the movie is Gwen. Yeah, I've said that. I'll talk more about that later. For right now,
You
I'm just bringing that up as a comparison to the first one, where she kind of takes over Peter B. Parker's role in a lot of ways
you
in this
don't
one.
know.
But there are still some very interesting side characters here, though. I I think Spider Punk especially is a strong one.
You know my favorite Indian Spider-Man.
Yeah, I liked him too. He is very charismatic. He's
Yeah, you know,
voiced
it
very well.
was nice seeing a Spider-Man that's just plain out happy. Nothing's happened to him.
Yeah, that's something else too. It's interesting to see a Spider-Man that doesn't really have that many sad events that have happened in their life. It's interesting to see something like that.
He's
And
about to since the world's being destroyed, but oh,
Spider Punk's kind of carefree attitude is also very something that's very interesting for Spider-Man because he doesn't act in a way like any other Spider-Man in this movie acts. He's got
mm,
also a very unique personal style and stuff. And something else that's really cool about him is the way his animation is done, the way that it's
yeah.
inconsistent with all the different colors and styles and everything.
I heard
That's a
online
detail I loved with him.
it took them like 2 to 3 years just to animate him.
Makes sense because there is a lot there. And I like how it ties into the character due to his lack of consistency that because of that they designed his animation inconsistently. And that's
Mm,
just jagged and all over the place. It's fun. It's such a dynamic way to deliver a character through visual storytelling.
mm,
And that's something that really only animation can do. You can't do a character in the same way in live action.
yeah. Speaking of that, do you think all the live action cameos we got fitted into the story?
I think they're hit or miss. I think I think
Like
it is
and
cool to see those background scenes, and it is cool to see the Prowler from Donald Glover here. But at the same time, they do feel kind of jarring in the movie. When you're thinking
like
of it as part of that universe, it doesn't work as well.
you got Andrew, you got Toby, you got
Yep.
Tom. No, Tom's not there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember seeing Tom there,
Damn,
but
where
yeah,
is Tom?
you do have Andrew and Toby both there. Like I said, they're cool to see 'cause you recognize those things, but at the same time, it just I don't know. When you think about it, it doesn't really work stylistically because it looks so different. And I can see why they cut their planned live action sequences because yeah, they're it's kind of a weird
Well,
thing to do in an animated movie.
how about the Venom scene?
That scene did feel weird. I was not a big fan of that scene the first time I watched it. Even it felt
You know,
kind of weird.
the whole this is normal for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and on top of that, that isn't necessarily a thing she's experienced anyway.
I mean, if it was MCU, it'd make more sense. But
Yeah, it would have made more sense to be an MCU character, but obviously Sony doesn't own the MCU, so they couldn't do that. But I was a little bit hit or miss on the live action sequences. They were cool to see as first time things, but on rewatch they are kind of jarring because they are so different in style from the animated characters that I don't think it works that well.
you know who
So
deserved better? Ben Reilly.
Ben Wright, yes, I agree so much. I wouldn't have
Scarlet.
necessarily put him as a main character, but they did
He
do
was
him dirty.
spider people that kept promoting.
His writing was so weird, especially
Yeah, I
like
was waiting for him to join the team at the end.
yeah, and he just feels like a typical Adam Sandberg parody character rather than fucking Ben Riley, and
I
it's
mean,
weird.
Adam's voice him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Is they
Oh, wait, he
just
did.
turn him into an Adam Sandberg character.
Oh, wait, he did. I didn't even know that. I was just joking.
He did. Yeah, Adam Sandberg voiced Ben Riley.
Oh,
You couldn't
that's
tell
nice to know.
that?
No,
Oh well, yeah, he did. And that's the point I was making. He feels like more of a parody character that Adam Sandberg was playing than an actual version of the character. A
didn't
lot.
Andy, wasn't Circus also in here?
What?
Wasn't Andy Circus also in here?
I don't remember on that honestly.
Was
Another member of Lonely Island or whatever their band or whatever their group is called, I think I can't remember. was also here. Like that's the band or whatever, the comedy group that that Adam Sandberg is a part of. Yep, Lonely Island. Okay, I had to search it up real quick. Yeah, that's like the group he's a part of. Like either all three of them or two out of three of them were in the movie at some point. I saw another one of their names in the credits. So yeah, although they also, I believe, are like friends or like frequently work with Lord and Miller, so it makes sense. They were part of
What?
songs for both Lego movies.
Yeah, same. Man, and that Lego scene too.
Yeah, the Lego scene was cool. I do agree with that. The Lego scene was fun to see as someone who is a Lego fan. And
Oh,
I
and
thought
also
that
love
because
how
Lord
did
and Miller made the Lego movies. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
and also loved about that scene that like at the last second they still did the like how they just do their own dumb sound effects.
Yeah, they still have the sound effects. Yep. Yep. That was fun too. Felt like an actual like YouTube stop motion, which was fun. It's a fun little
Yeah.
way to do it, and it's cool to
But,
see something like that be done in a big movie like this.
but wait, what about your least favorite character, Gwen?
Like I said, she's my favorite character, and we'll talk about her later because I want to ramp it up for bigger characters
Wait,
being talked about later. Miles and
she's,
Gwen we'll talk about at the end.
she's waiting.
Uh, I liked Jess Drew for another side character, but yet again, she doesn't have enough
Uh,
presence to truly make an impact.
but Miguel O'Hara.
And then I think Miguel works as an antagonistic force because he's not a straight up villain, but he is definitely an antagonistic force against Miles by the end of the movie. And I feel like they did him very well. You can see what his motivations are. You actually get to see them happen. And it's done very well. It's done in a clear and effective way. It's engaging and it's properly told.
Well, yeah, it's just there to fix the canon.
Yeah. And like I said, I liked him. I thought his character worked very well.
Ooh,
And
here's something.
oh
Were you surprised that there was like most of the movie was actually of like with Miles and his parents? Because I was expecting that to be like not like 5-10 minutes, and then they would get straight into him like you know going into the Spider Verse.
I was very glad
Oh,
they spent so much
I,
time on the characters.
yeah,
I love when movies actually let their characters grow, and I love that like the first hour of this movie is almost all character work.
yeah,
Almost all of the first hour of the movie is either character work for Gwen or Miles, or both.
or both. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but going back to the antagonistic thing again, the other antagonistic force is the actual villain of the movie, obviously in Spot.
The
Uh,
spot.
the Spot, yeah. What do you think of him?
He was funny. Nah, I mean, I was kind of on him at first because like I don't know, he seemed kind of dumb, but and just I don't know. And then there was like that PlayStation clip that came out right before,
Yeah.
dropping kind of me on, and then yeah, it was definitely a bit of a threat, which was cool to see in this type of villain.
I
Uh,
I
and
really
I
like.
like
Oh,
backstory.
I
I thought
really
that was.
liked. Oh, sorry. Continue. My bad.
Uh, I'm just saying, I thought his backstory worked well enough, and yeah,
I really liked how he started off as more of a comedic character, but as the movie ramped in tension, he became a truly threatening, menacing character by the end. I liked how they progressed that in a fairly natural way.
mm,
Like how he grew more powerful as the movie progressed, and how he became more of a threat through that. I thought that was very well done. Like I was kind of worried at first with how comedic it was. Like, oh, this is the main villain of the movie, but they did very well at slowly ramping him up into this big threatening force. And I thought
yeah.
it worked. I thought it worked wonders by the end. I liked him a lot, and I
So
loved. I loved the voice performance for him, especially he's probably one of my favorites of the whole movie, voice
Yeah,
performance wise.
another easy adventure for Spider-Man.
And I liked a lot of the scenes where it showed like the future happen with the spot like that Miles would see, how it was in black and white and like that jagged art style. I,
Death.
how it'd show like the future death of his father and stuff in that sequence. I thought it was very well done. The
I'm
art
like,
style was
I'm
amazing.
I'm gonna predict it right now. His dad won't die. His mom will, because they had way too much more screen time with his mom in this movie. So
Well, yeah,
it
but
feels
there's
like
so much screen time with his dad in the first one, so it kind of levels out.
I know, but still, I don't know. That's my
But I
prediction.
that would actually be kind of cool, honestly, because yeah, it's typically the captain dies, so it would be interest, and it's typically the father figure that dies too in these movies. So both of
Yeah.
those signs point to his dad, but so it would be actually pretty interesting to see his mom be the
Sometimes
one
the
to
aunt,
die.
sometimes
The one movie has the aunt die. Yeah, and that's because
nah.
there wasn't an Uncle Ben in those movies.
Yeah, who cares about Uncle Ben in the MCU?
But I did like the spot more as the movie went on.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I guess now we can talk about the main characters.
Yeah.
So
How did you hate Gwen so much?
I loved Gwen. Dude, fuck off. I loved Gwen. Gwen is my favorite character of the movie. Gwen is probably my favorite character of the series so far because of this movie. It's a very
But
well told story. It's largely done through the animation of the movie, which is very well done, but her story is sad. It's genuinely heartbreaking at points. And it's filled with regret and stuff, and it's all very well done. It's there's a lot of allegories for that could be considered for trans people, especially her with her revealing her identity to her father and that being related. And on top of that, all the color choices and the trans flags and pins in the
yeah,
movie. It could,
background changing during their like later,
yeah,
last
which
part.
which I loved because it's used to show the emotion and it's a typical shot reverse shot composition. You know, a fairly normal and standard composition is just to shot reverse shot when people are having conversations, which is like whatever. It's not great, but it's serviceable. But they innovated it on it in a way you could only do in animation by constantly changing the art styles because you
Side
have not really, I guess, the art styles, but constantly changing the colors that are used. They use the color palettes to show the different emotions that are happening as the characters. You see the warmer and colder colors used for those, and I think that's not only evident in the shot composition in that specific scene. The scene I actually thought used it the best was the scene near the beginning of the movie when she gives her dad a hug when when she's hostile towards her dad and stuff. They're talking about the Spider Woman case before she reveals her identity and then he asks for a hug, and when they hug, the warm colors surround them and stuff, in an otherwise coldly colored environment. I thought they used colors very well in Gwen's universe. I thought it was the best animated universe because of this. It's done very well, and it's done almost all through animation in its visuals, and that's wonderful. It truly feels like it's a movie that could not be done in live action because of that. And
don't you
like
like?
like I said, a
Don't
lot of you go first. Sorry, you go
you go?
first.
Why
I've
do
been
we
talking
always
a
do?
lot. It's your turn.
No, I was gonna ask. Don't you just want to make love to this animation?
Oh my god. But even even beyond the animation, I think Gwen's story is really well written. Like I said, there's a lot of allegories for specifically trans people, which I can connect to as a trans questioning person, and it's very well done. It doesn't necessarily have to be trans, which works really well because you can interpret it multiple ways, and that's the best way for the most people to connect to it. Because if you do it in a way that can be have multiple interpretation, that means it's more open for people to connect with, which is really positive. It gives a lot of people a way to connect to a story, and that's very well done. But like I said, a lot of it did give me trans vibes. The way that things were colored, the way that things were presented, the way that characters talked at times, even about certain things. felt very alluding to that. And like I said, there are multiple, there are like trans flags and pins and stuff and posters. It's not too often. It's not too often. It's not like shoved down your face the whole time for people who care about that for some reason. I don't get what the big deal with that is, but it is, it's shown and it's left up to interpretation. You can see her as trans, you can see her as not trans. Like I said, it's wonderful. It gives the most amount of people the opportunity to connect with her because it gives trans people a superhero to connect with, which is something very important because not that many superheroes are like that. But at the same time, it just means even normal people can connect with her, or non-trans LGBT people can connect with her because still it is a coming out story. It can be connected to in multiple ways, and that's very important because it gives people a way to, like I said, connect with the story that typically is very straight, very male.
Or does it?
It does because, like I said, a lot of characters in these in superhero movies, especially, are straight white men. So it gives an
Well,
opportunity for more people to connect with her, connect with characters, especially considering the other lead of this movie is a yes a male, but he's black.
a black.
It gives
Yeah.
it gives multiple it gives more people representation than just white men, which is something that, like I said, is very important because it allows the most people to connect with someone, and it gives people that typically don't get representation in these movies, like I said, especially trans people, an opportunity to connect with a superhero character in a way they haven't really before, and that's very, very important. That's very special. I hold that close to my heart.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I, as like I mentioned, the straight male, I'm sure you didn't find as much of a connection with her story.
I mean, she was great still, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
know, but
yeah.
and I and I like looking at it that yes, you can just view it as the story point of this cop rejecting his daughter initially before accepting her eventually for being a superhero, or like I said, it can be compared to trans people in the way that there are a lot of trans kids that initially their parents reject them before eventually accepting them later in their life after realizing the loss they've encountered. And it's like I said, it's very beautiful. It's very well done. It's my favorite part of the whole movie. It's very emotional. The whole point she reveals her when she reveals her identity to her dad, and her dad's still afraid of her, and she calls that out, and he points the gun back at her again. It's very heartbreaking. It's truly depressing in the way it's done and portrayed. And later, when you see how broken the dad is after Gwen's been gone all this time, it truly does round out in a way that is really emotional and it's fully delivered on. Like I said, I did not expect her story to be done this well. And another thing with that is she comes right out of the gates of the movie. The first 20 minutes of the movie are focused on her. Miles does not show up besides flashbacks for the first 20 minutes of the movie. It is Gwen's movie for the first 20 minutes. It is all about her from
Yeah.
the opening scene to when the opening credits play. It's
Studio.
a Gwen movie. Well, because it shows
Now,
like a Sony Animation Pictures film or whatever the studio's called again. I forgot. But yeah,
Columbia.
and with the opening scene also in particular where she's flashing back about a lot of Miles stuff, they still do a lot of new stuff with it. Like I said, they introduce that animation style, and they talk about her view on Miles' origin, about how he's not the only one and stuff and all, and about her own personal emotions with it. And the score is integrated beautifully here because it takes place in the movie, she's and it feels very well integrated into the movie. And then she goes back on her own encounters with losing people, like losing Peter, which is done very well again, and it's very sad. Like I
Yes,
said, Gwen's my favorite character in the movie.
yes, Peter, played by you know who.
But her story is just sad for the most part. Like in the beginning, she talks about how she didn't want to. How I'm trying to remember what the exact line was. Honestly, I don't remember what it was because
Where?
the the line when she's talking about all the stuff with Miles and everything about his past and stuff. Oh yeah, I brought it up earlier when we were texting the I didn't want to hurt him, but I did thing, and that he wasn't
You
the
sure
only
did,
one
Gwen.
because
You sure.
she didn't want to hurt him, but in her own
Well, she did.
In her own actions, she hurt him even though she wasn't intending to, because
They all hurt Miles. Jerks.
yeah, and that no matter how hard she tries and in in the work she does, that you always end up on your own. It's talking about no matter how hard you try, you always end up on your own, because that's the life of Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, is
Yeah.
that loneliness, because you can't really relate to that many people in a situation like that. And yet again, with the LGBT thing, a lot of people feel that way too in LGBT, that they can only relate to other people like them with sexualities and gender identities and everything. But yeah, I like how they did that, and that when she was talking to her dad later near the end of the movie, that her mask was her badge, that she understood where her dad was coming from about putting on that badge so that someone who shouldn't have it didn't, and that her mask was her badge, basically, she that she couldn't do it in the way of the law because of the power she had, and that she had to do good with it.
Yeah.
And the whole duality of her and Peter at the beginning is very well done. That Peter just wants to be like her because he's weak and he's viewed as such, and he wants to be viewed as stronger, so he becomes the lizard and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
sad.
How dare Gwen kill him?
And I
I'm
liked how
kidding.
they balanced the comedy with 2099 at the beginning of the movie too.
You're not gonna correct me on that?
What?
I said how dare Gwen kill him.
Yeah, okay, but
I was waiting to correct me, but you okay.
well, obviously she didn't, but yeah. And like I said, I liked how they balanced the comedy when they introduced 2099. They had banter between him and Gwen, and banter between Gwen and the Vulture that showed up, while they still managed to really hit those emotional strides. Because
And hey now,
the
that
the
scene showed how great 2099 was, right?
yeah, that was a very good way to introduce him, because you get to see a good side of him before he eventually turns out to be like kind of an antagonist force of the
And how
movie.
also hated Tom Holland.
But I liked how they balanced it, because like the whole movie before that is pretty sad, because she's talking about being on her own. She's talking about missing Miles and how she ends up basically hurting Miles by the end of the movie, and how all these things have happened to her that are really sad. And then you get this brief moment of like comedic weight and stuff before it all comes crashing down again. Before her dad finds her and she reveals her identity, and her dad pulls a gun on her for it, and
Yeah, just needed a few months.
yeah, it's
I mean, hey,
it's very sad.
at least he gave up being a captain, so he gets to live.
Yeah, I do almost wonder how that works with canon events in the movie. I wonder if
Yeah,
if that undid a canon event almost.
all Miles has to do is tell his dad to quit.
Yeah, so I wonder how that worked actually, because the canon events are set up and heavily established, but that did actually kind of confuse me for a little bit, because I was like, what if that was a canon event that was undone by her leaving?
You know,
We'll never know, or
maybe.
maybe we will. Maybe that universe will end up being destroyed because of that. Who knows?
By now, March 29th.
But and Gwen was almost like the lead of this movie, surprisingly.
Or was she?
The advertising was still Miles centric, obviously, because the first one is a Miles movie, and because it is called Spider Man. But honestly, I almost did feel like Gwen was the main protagonist of the movie. She gets the biggest arc. She gets the most character work. We start and end the movie with her. She's there for a good chunk of the movie, and we really get to see her grow as a character almost more than Miles. So like I said, surprised me. And it's not that I don't like Miles. I love Miles. Miles is probably my favorite main Spider-Man of the movies. But I loved this. I loved that they gave Gwen so much time to develop in the movie because it was a character that was cool in the first one, but didn't get as much character work as I was initially expecting, given the advertising. So I loved how much they did here, how much they made her grow as a character here. It was very well done. But I guess now we can talk about Miles. I'll
Yeah.
let you
Well,
start on this one. Or do you have anything to say on Gwen first?
uh, I mean, I agree with most of the stuff you said on her, definitely. I mean, obviously not, don't relate to certain other things, but yeah, no, it was cool that she was basically, I know, yeah, in a way she was the main one here this time. And that opening scene was really good. I was not expecting it to open with her and for it to even last as long as it did. And, uh, nah, I feel bad for her dad, honestly. I thought their dynamic with each other, though, still worked
Yeah.
well. Uh,
And
Man, definitely not the best because how she treated Miles. So
like I said, I understood where it was coming from because all the stuff that happened to her, and like you said, it was surprising the opening went on for so long. I was expecting it to just be that recap scene, and then for Miles to show up. I wasn't expecting it to go on after the her recapping Miles' past thing. I was expecting her to do the let's do this differently this time and talk about all that stuff, and then it'd end the way the last ones did, except a little differently, obviously, since that was the whole point of it. And then it'd go to Miles instead of focusing on Gwen longer. But
yeah,
well, I think we both got our thoughts out on Gwen now, right?
probably.
Okay, I'll let you start on Miles
Yeah, time to talk about your favorite
because
character.
you're probably gonna have more to say on Miles, like I had more to say on Gwen.
Probably not because look how much I had to say on Gwen and you compared to you.
Yeah, like I said, I that's why I'm saying you'll probably have more to say on Miles compared to me.
Okay, first off, Miles as a character, I even I found out about him already even before like 2018.
Oh
So
yeah, I
it's
had too, because he was in the comics. Yeah, I read comics back at that time.
well, yeah, that and also he appeared in some like I forgot what show. It was in some Spider-Man show. So that was something else I
Ultimate
found him in.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Ultimate
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
and also he was in the game a few months prior.
The game? What game?
You know what game?
Wait, prior? That no, that episode was before it, wasn't
No,
it?
I was talking about the game before the movie.
Oh,
I was talking
oh,
about 2018, the Spider-Man 2018 game coming out
oh yeah. That's what
before
I'm
Into the
saying.
Spider-Verse.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was already pretty familiar before that, where I'd say most of everyone else started to
Yeah, I'd say a
know him.
lot of other people started to be aware of him around the game and Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah.
And he was like going back to Into the Spider-Verse. Thought he was great in that. Definitely had some of the best character growth in that movie. Uh, and the scene, like obviously, who can forget the "What's up, danger" part? Come on,
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. That's like the big leap of faith in the movie. Yeah.
yeah, pun intended.
Wonderful
Uh,
scene.
and then, and then carried over to this film, even better. Like I can relate to him when it comes to like
Yep.
his pain, when it comes to not talking about things. No, like I guess keeping secrets. Obviously, not those type of secrets, but certain just not wanting to talk about certain things like that could really affect you. But no, and again, I think he was most definitely in the right out of everyone else. I mean, yeah, you got Miguel, who was also trying to do the right thing, but Miles, come on, Miles got more heart.
Yeah, I'd agree. Miles is doing the right thing. Yeah.
You know, he was trying his best too to like, still like relate to Gwen throughout, even after she like left his Earth, and he, you know, yeah, I don't know, but See, that's why I should have wrote a script. I know I have one.
I do better improvising.
I mean, do you?
Yeah, otherwise I go off script anyway. So
I just read the script. Just read off the script while you're recording.
that'd be
What do you
kind of
mean?
weird if you're just reading off the script while I'm in the middle of
Well,
talking.
well, not if you're showing your face, or if you're not. Yeah,
But
you're not showing your.
you wouldn't really be able to script this though, since a lot of it comes off what the other person says, and you wouldn't know what I was gonna say beforehand. But anyways, yeah, proceed with Miles now.
Yeah. And what I think also. So yeah, other quick thing, his suit, just a little minor thing. It's good, not great. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of those like red stripes on the armpits.
I'm not either, but it's fine.
It's
I
fine.
think the suit in the last movie was better at the end,
Well, yeah, but
but this one's
still,
still solid.
and he's just it's Miles. How can you not love Miles? It's Miles Morales. Also, his fight, not just his very, what I really loved him in the fight, basically the fight scene with him and Miguel. That was great. That was freaking just everything that was happening in that because so much was going on in that scene. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
getting
suppose
chased.
that's something else we'll have to get to soon is action sequences.
Yeah, that was like top tier when Miguel's like, you just you don't know what you're doing, just a kid, and
Yeah.
because you've seen the trailer of the
Yeah,
movie.
and the movie itself.
I hope so. Otherwise, you
Well, I'm gonna put
don't
a
care.
spoiler warning before.
So you never know. Someone could read and say, "I don't care."
Yeah, of course, but yeah. Okay, well, real quick before we move on to action scenes, I'll talk about Miles real quick. Uh, I did still like Miles a lot. Like I said, I
You
still really
like
like Miles in the movies. In
liked
the
him. You're
movie,
supposed to love.
what?
You're supposed to. You're supposed to love him.
Uh, he's a very well done character. I would say I love Miles' character.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like I said, I prefer Gwen in this one,
But you
although
said
I
Miles.
connect to Gwen more. But I still think he has a very strong arc that can be related to by a lot of people. Also, that whole family dynamic about what to keep from your family and what to share, and all the baggage that comes with these secrets, and how the more he builds them up, the harder it gets to hide them because his mother can tell he's hiding something, and it becomes more obvious the more he hides it. And
But who's
it's
Spider?
very well done, and his relationship with his mother is very well done in this movie. It's wonderful. You get to really see their dynamic after it's not really done much into the Spider Verse because they mainly focused on his dad in the last one. So getting to see that relationship with his mom build instead in this one was very well done. And you still get moments between him and his dad. You still get moments of them bonding. But on top of that, you get moments with his mom. And I thought it was very well done. It's very well written. It feels emotional. It feels genuine. It feels real. It feels like
You know,
a real relationship between a mother and a son, and it
you
feels
know
like a
something?
real relationship between a father and a son. Oh,
I know. I think in this movie, when it comes to his dad, they definitely focused a bit more on like Spider-Man and his dad.
yeah,
Right.
they did.
Yeah, that's just something to bring up there. It's more so like Miles is Spider-Man and his dad. When, yeah, like you said, with his
Where
mom, it was actually
yeah,
Miles.
it was actually Miles. Yeah, because his mom didn't have a reason to interact with Spider-Man really. She wasn't a
Maybe.
cop,
Yeah, no, you're.
but and I like you said, I do like the way his story was done at the end too, when he's fighting with 2099 and they're talking how about how he wasn't meant to be Spider-Man, how the spider was supposed to bite someone else, and there's a world without Spider-Man now because he was bitten instead, and
Miguel
how they
was ra-
talk about destiny and stuff.
Miguel's racist.
And I like this, and I like in the beginning when he's talked about when he's telling his backstory himself, when he's doing his recap, let's do this one more time thing, how he talks about how he's Spider-Man, no one can take that away from him, and that's still held up by the end of the movie. Because
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was just a kid who has no idea what he's doing.
yeah, and he proved
Miguel.
and how he proved he did in that very scene by proving that he had actually had a plan all along, even though to that entire point they all think he's lying about that, and the audience thinks he's lying about that because there doesn't seem to be any plan to this. He's just kind of running by the edge of his seat. He's flying, just he's just going around as quick as possible to run away. But then they show that he was leading them out of the base, and
Mm-hmm.
it shows that he does have a plan and that he does know what he's doing. And it feels well developed and well learned, and it's well done. And the ending with the Prowler version of himself too, it shows a dynamic between what could have happened depending on how events had happened, how big of an impact that might had on it, and how different a person could be because of a different loss.
Just wait till it's me,
Oh,
LBM. Remember
sorry,
me?
sorry about that cutout. We're filming again now, but sorry about that cut.
Brennan,
There was something that came up. But anyway, back to what you were saying.
her father walked in. Hmm?
But back to what you were saying again.
I don't remember. Our father walked in.
You mean my father? Yeah. Okay. But I liked how that loss showed how much a different loss can affect someone with how his father's loss in that universe without a Spider-Man and everything turned him into the Prowler, created him becoming Spider-Man through all the stuff that happened in the universe we know with him and how that dynamic was shown. Even though we don't see much of the Prowler Miles in the movie, obviously, because he comes up at the tail end of the movie.
Just wait till it's Miles versus Miles.
I think that wraps up what I have to say about Miles here.
But it's
So,
Morales.
so now we can talk about action sequences, and then we'll talk about animation as a whole. But first, action sequences, like I said, since you've been wanting to get to those for a little bit now. You can
Man,
start off with the one you were wanting to talk about.
the chase scene. That was
Yep.
great. It was great. Just having. No, I liked even more that like every like Spider-Man that was on frame was actually doing something too.
Yeah, which is
Like,
something you could not do in live action.
yeah, so you could, but it's hard, really fucking hard to do.
It'd be hard to
But
capture that many on a single frame in
yeah,
live
then
action.
like there's got to be at least one person just standing there.
Yeah.
But
Whereas,
and obviously him and Miguel going at it. That's
yeah,
great.
and there's such a strong energy. It is flowing, and it's moving the whole time. It doesn't have stops. It feels like it's constantly flowing, and it's very well done. It's an action scene with purpose and with flow and progression. It actually works really well. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like it's unnecessary.
yeah. How about that other scene? That one scene right after the one scene.
Which one?
Was after that one scene?
Dude, just say the fucking action sequence.
Which one was I talking about? Oh yeah, in India in Spider-Man's world. That was a good one.
Yep, that's another one. It moves, it flows. Like I said, the action here as a whole is really energetic.
Like the opening fight.
Yep,
I was
like
thinking,
I said, I think every sequence here has purpose. It has energy. Every single action sequence, it works. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff done with Spider-Man India's introduction. The way he moves around is very well done because they show his own special moves and stuff with like his, his bangles and stuff,
mm-hmm.
and the way he flings them around and uses them in his movements, and the way you have all three of these different Spider people, eventually four different Spider people in this one action sequence that all have very different fighting styles, all being
Mm-hmm.
shown in one action sequence.
Yo,
Because
that's
yes, it is cool with all the Spider people seeing all of them, but as a result, so many of them have similar styles of attacking, even though there are some cool ones, like the web slinger on his horse has a very interesting sequence. Um, the one in the wheelchair, I don't remember her name, has a very cool one where she uses the crutch and stuff. The 2D Spider-Man, who comes at
uh,
Miles and everyone just swings past him because he's 2D. there are still some cool ones, but so many of them fight in very similar ways because you can only do so many unique fighting styles.
But
Whereas
PlayStation's
whereas when you have four of them, you can flesh them all out with their own unique action styles. Gwen and Miles' styles feel different, and Spider-Punk's style feels different, and Spider-Man India's style feel different. They all
did.
fight in unique ways, and as
What about
such, you get a very fun action sequence.
what about PlayStation?
Was he in any of the action sequences?
Probably not. But
He probably was in the background of the Spider-Man chase.
he's on the Steelbook.
Yeah,
Have you
but
seen the Steel? They use some of the PS4 renders on some
yeah,
of the
I
suits.
was the one who sent you the Steelbook, dude.
I thought you photoshopped it.
No, I was the one who sent you the Steelbook artwork.
Like Scarlet Spider, Spider
Yep,
Punk.
yep. But
uh,
and I liked how well the spots action was done in this movie because
yeah,
it's something that would not work at all in live action because of
but it could.
how often it needs to move, how cartoony it is. Kind of, it is a pretty cartoony concept, and how much it needs to move all over the place. Motion blur would really mess it up.
Imagine a CGI too.
Well, yeah, obviously it'd be some CGI, but motion blur would have such a huge detriment on this movie, which on these action sequences, which would be a given with live action. But because it's animation and they don't restrict themselves with motion blur, they they work so well. Every I think the spots action sequences, the ones where they're fighting the spot, are honestly the best ones because it's they have the most energy. They're moving all over, and you get to see so many different unique attacks through this one. You get to see how the characters have to react to these portals being tossed up all over. How they have to try to predict where the spots are going to appear, and everything is done really well. And it gives so much actually intensity to action sequences, especially as the spot ramps up in power.
But LW,
What?
do you like shy tea?
I liked that joke. It felt well done.
It was hilarious when Spot said it, and Indiana
Yeah, when he was
Spider.
talking about how non bread is like saying bread, and that's like the same thing as saying chai tea, and then the spot's like, oh, I love chai tea.
No.
Yeah, I like that joke.
Mm. Feel bad for him.
But and that's another thing. A lot of comedy lands in this movie for being for being comedy that's largely aimed at kids. I actually think Into the Spider Verse and Across Spider Verse both have
And
very good comedy.
and dads. I mean, remember that scene of Peter Parker showing his pictures?
Oh yeah.
That was kind of a dad joke. It felt like.
And about how they talked to, and in that same scene, how they had Spider Punk talking about taking a crap on the establishment and stuff. When when Mayday took a shit in her diaper and stuff, and they're talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that scene was probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie because I thought like every joke in that sequence landed.
Speaking of Mayday, what happened to May?
Remember, she went
Just,
to Florida.
of course she did.
Remember, they brought that up briefly.
I know, but still, of course, I was expecting her to be just running out, and look, it happened.
Something I loved in that sequence, comedy wise, is the YouTube apologies that they showed from Miles. How
Oh yeah.
he endorsed a baby powder so bad, a baby powder that was so bad that he had to make an apology video for it. Makes
I'm
you
so.
wonder what the fuck was in that baby powder. And then again, talking about how he had a mustache which somehow stuck through his mask, which is a little thing you can only really do through animation. And how he had to make another apology video for that. How
I'm
they
so.
kept toppling that stuff on.
Uh-huh.
It was so well done. And if you pay attention to it, even it flashed in so quick they have to freeze frame it. But I've seen like a couple of freeze frames from camera copies now, where they have like big, where they have like the views and stuff on one of them has like a million and some views or something. Maybe it was a billion and some. I might have been misreading it, but I think it was like a million and some views, like 37 likes and like 69 million dislikes. Which yeah is an impossible number if I was right, and that was a million views. But it just emphasizes how bad of a decision it was. And like I said, it's all around a baby powder. It's such a funny joke that actually works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, overall, the comedy works very well in this movie. This and Into the Spider Verse are both pretty funny movies, and they're not like funny in a Morbius or Venom one way, where they're just so dumb they're funny. They're actually like genuinely funny. They're meant to be funny and they work.
What about Milo?
Oh my god, that's not this movie,
So
but
wasn't that funny on purpose?
no. But now I guess let's talk about the animation now.
I thought we did.
We talked about it briefly for Gwen's specific universe and for Spider Punk, but I want to talk about the overall animation. I want to talk about
Perfect.
animation as a whole.
You want to make love to it.
I like how many different styles they utilize. How like every single universe has a unique style from one another. And how so many characters have different styles from one another. You'll see so many different animation styles clashing on one screen because they're different universes, so it works. It's like Miles'
Mm.
universe looks different from Gwen's universe, which looks different from 2099's universe, which looks different from the Lego universe, which looks different from that vintage universe we saw briefly when the spot popped into one of the spots.
Which looks different from the Venom universe.
Yeah, obviously that one's live action. I already talked about that too. But yeah, how they all have different animation styles and they all clash, but they all look very well. India's is another great example. Spider-Man India's universe is different designed. It's and like I talked about the spots, um, future visions and stuff look different. All of it worked very well. The universe at the end, Earth 42, has a purple hue to it because it's the universe where Miles the Prowler, so they hint at that with that purple hue. They put so much attention to detail in the animation, all of it just pops. I I'm not joking around when I say this is probably like the best looking animated movie I've ever seen, and quite possibly the best looking movie I've ever seen.
But Into the Spider Verse.
Into the Spider Verse is probably my second favorite looking animated movie. It was probably my favorite before this.
But Puss in Boots too.
I think that one looks good too, but I don't think it matches the Spider Verse movies.
But
Um,
TMNT.
and I hope we get to see more unique style. I hope we get to see more unique styles in the next one. But
You know,
the animation is it's so well done, and that budget of $100 million is a lot, yes, because $100 million is still a lot of money. But for big budget Hollywood movies, that's actually kind of low, and it looks this good,
mm-hmm.
and it's very solid. And this has led me to having this conversation before that I think animation as a whole has a lot more potential to be good than live action. It's just not done the best. A lot of
Hey now.
studios do it just to make kids movies, but
Hey
the Across the
now.
Spider Verse movies show the true potential. The Spider Verse movies, and particularly Across Spider Verse, show the true potential of animation because they do it in such a way that it works better than like any live action movie could.
And hey now, don't forget, right now, the top two openings of the year are animated movies. So
Yep,
it's a win,
people are starting to come around to animation. Although, in fairness,
finally.
one of them is Mario, which is like the most recognizable character currently for most people.
Suck it, Disney.
What?
Suck it, Disney.
But animation has so much potential, and the Spider Verse movies utilize it so well. And I think the Mario movie still looks good animation wise, but I think the Spider Verse movie, the Across Spider Verse, puts that one in the dirt animation wise because Mario has such a safe animated style that seeing something like Across the Spider Verse just a couple months later shows how much more of a risk they could have taken with Mario.
Yeah, no, I've been seeing a lot of people online saying, like, Oh, the animation in Mario kind of sucks now.
I can see that. I think it still looks solid for what it's worth, but it is such a safe playing movie animation wise that I can see why people would see it
I
too
think
safe to see it as good.
I do think Mario fits better in that type of animation than Spider Verse because I don't think Mario would fit that well with like the low frame rates.
That's not what I'm saying about Mario. I don't think it would work with this. There's still more. There's still more animation styles than just the basic cookie cutter animation Illumination does, and the off the wall comic style Spider Verse
But
does.
the question is, will Spider Verse surpass Mario? Yes or yes?
It won't. But
Imagine.
I think something that would have been cool with Mario was like a cell shaded art style,
Mm-hmm.
similar to a lot of video games. But enough about Mario. This is Spider Verse video.
Yeah, about Mario. No one saw it.
But yeah, I think Spider Verse is animated very well, and the overall, yeah, it's a great movie. I think, like you said, I think the pacing is a little off. I think by the end, it does feel like it goes on for a little bit long. Oh wait, we forgot to talk about the ending. We brought it up at other points, but we didn't ever say our actual thoughts about the ending.
Oh yeah, sucked. Movie sucked. Alright, that's it.
I liked the ending a lot actually.
Go.
For as much as I was saying the pacing was bad at the end, I like the ending of the movie. I feel like the ending is very well done. A lot of people have been saying how it's like half a movie, and I can agree with that somewhat. The plot
What's the point?
is very much not finished at the end here. There's very much still a lot of plot left to tell.
I was
But
already. I already went in already expecting a cliffhanger.
oh yeah,
So
so did I. I knew it was part one. But
yeah,
even though it does have a cliffhanger and the plot's not done, Miles and Gwen both have pretty much complete arcs. It still
for now.
feels like a movie. It still feels like a full movie, even though it ends with a cliffhanger. Just like a lot of TV seasons that end with cliffhangers still feel like full TV seasons.
Then they get canceled.
But like I said, even though the movie ends with a cliffhanger, I did still feel satisfied with it as an individual movie because Gwen and Miles both get complete character arcs.
But it
Obviously, there's
definitely,
still room for them to grow in the next one.
it definitely wasn't as good a cliffhanger as Fast X, right?
No, it's way better than Fast X.
Weren't you
But
shocked that it ended?
but I did love the character work for
Yes, no.
for both of them. There's still room for them to grow from here, but their arcs they had in this specific movie, I feel both got completed. Gwen's definitely did, and I feel like Miles got pretty much done too.
Mm, I'd say Gwen's is, but I don't know about Miles. But we'll soon beyond.
Because I think because the whole thing with it was him coming to terms with this whole being Spider-Man thing and everything, and he does by the end of the movie.
Yeah, but then now he has the task of saving his dad.
Even though it wasn't his mom specifically, he finally built up the strength to basically tell his mom that he was Spider-Man, which is like the big point.
Who's
So even
Spider Man?
though it's not hit, so it does kind of suck that he basically ended his arc with someone that wasn't his mom, an arc that was supposed to be finished with his mom, but he did basically end that arc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they take Miles from here.
Yeah, it's the best
But
character. You
so, what do
agree,
you think
right?
of the ending?
Now I thought it was good. Again, I was expecting a cliffhanger, so I wasn't too pissed off. But no, I thought it was a good way to weave things off for the next one, especially with the all the spider people coming together. Because as you know, I was kind of bummed out. Most of the side characters in the first were not in here at all. Basically, I thought they were just. I didn't even think they'd be brought up or anything. They're just gonna ignore them. But it was cool seeing all of them also back together in the last frame they were in. And oh man, I wanted to see Miles and Miles go at it. What the fuck? It just ended. That's not cool.
I'm sure that'll be like the beginning of the next one.
That's gonna be the very first frame is them fighting.
No, I think like the first frame will be him breaking out.
or maybe it'll be another. Let's do this one last time. No, it'll
Actually,
be
yeah, no.
from the other Miles. Let's do
What?
this one. It'll be from the other Miles.
That'd actually be kind of cool.
My name is Miles
Getting to
Morales.
see
I'm
his,
proud.
getting to see his past story,
Yeah.
or to have it from like Peter B. Parker's perspective that time. I hope he's more of a main character in the next one.
And I was gonna say earlier, what if he's like the first movie is Miles, the second movie is Gwen? What if it's Peter B.
Close out
Parker?
with Peter, yeah. Like I said, I hope he's more of a main character in the next one. So like I said,
Hmm.
if anything I felt was missing from the last one, it's that that relationship.
Yeah, they got like one actual scene with each other. What
Yeah,
was it? And there was a baby in it too, so I don't know if that counts.
I would count it. It felt like it
Yeah,
naturally progressed from last movie.
and it ended with Miles once again winning.
But real quick before final thoughts, you want to give like your top five spider people in this movie?
5. That's a
Sure.
lot.
There are a lot more than five spider people in this movie, though.
There's like thousands.
Yeah, technically there's like 200 and something, but still.
Why don't we go like 5, 5, 4, 4? You know,
What?
why don't we go like back and forth, like 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3?
You only have your
You know,
top couple fully set?
like you go, like you say your fifth, and then I see my fifth. You say your
Oh.
fourth. I see my.
Well, let me think for a second then.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay.
Let me see.
Uh,
Number 1 is that. Number 2 is that. What is number 3? Damn it, I don't know.
and you can count one from the first movie too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Although I prefer ones that still feature in this movie just with work from the last one. It's not like Noir, Pig, or Penny really, but or Ham or Penny really, but like Peter B. Parker would count, is what I'm saying basically.
I got 4 in my head. I'm trying to think of who's
I got
5.
five. I got five.
And you start. Well, I think.
India's my fifth.
Mm,
I liked him. Like I said, I did really like him. I thought he was interesting. He had cool moves. It was fun to see one that actually wasn't super sad behind the cockiness. But yeah,
Cool.
I'd put him in fifth.
Uh, uh, uh. You know what? This is gonna surprise you. At my fifth, I'd probably put Penny Parker.
Even okay, I guess that works. Whatever. She was still technically in this movie with a speaking line.
You said I could count from the first too.
What?
You said I could count from the first also.
Yeah, sure. It works. Okay, yep. So you got anything specific to say about Penny?
I think of all the side characters. She definitely like had the from the first movie. She had like the most to do. I think.
I would agree with that. I found her to have the least interesting banter personally, but that's up to opinion. That's up to opinion, obviously. And I did feel like I do agree she had the most to do.
What's your fourth? Is it Miles?
Uh, Peter B. Parker.
Oh.
I feel like his. I feel like he's a very well done character in Into the Spider Verse, and he has natural growth in this one. He
Right.
you get to see where he came, and it feels very much like the same character from that first movie, which is much
Mm-hmm.
appreciated.
Okay. My fourth is very. I would have them higher, but we're going off like character, like just off their characters actually. Indian Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Again, he could go up, but like still love him. Like you said, great to see happy Spidey.
Okay, so I'll do my third now.
Yeah, I think we know what our actually know. I don't know what your third could be, but
Spider Punk,
now I know your top two. But
Kobe Brown, Spider Punk. Like I said, I loved the animation. I loved how inconsistent he was. I loved how much of a rebel he was. I thought he was a very fun character. He was very, and he was just a cool guy. He just
nope,
helped Miles to help Miles basically. He was just a cool guy.
probably like sixth or seventh for me personally. Uh, My third, you're gonna hate me, Gwen.
It's fine. Like I said, I connect to her a lot more. I can see why.
Great. And yeah, she's she's Gwen. She and you know what else? She hasn't died yet. She hasn't had her neck snapped. That's something.
My second is Miles. I talked about Miles, but yeah, his family, his his family growth is very much well appreciated. I loved how well it was done. It's well fleshed out. It's very well done, and like Peter B. Parker, it feels like a natural progression from the first movie. Although I
Mm-hmm.
think all the returning characters do, honestly. You can see where they're coming from the first movie. And I feel like he just had a very strong character in these movies.
Yep. All right. Now my second. Can you guess?
Peter B. Parker.
The fuck did you know? Yeah. Okay, but yeah, definitely him because like you know he's unlike I feel like he's unlike any of the other Peter Parkers we've seen before, and then just yeah, some more broken down Spider-Man. Uh, and yeah, I do wish you got more screen time in this movie, but maybe in Beyond because again, maybe it'll open with him. Actually, no, I don't think it can. You know why?
Why?
Because he kind of already got to do that. In actually, no, so did Gwen. What am I saying? Well, I would say they both already kind of got their own introduction type of sequence like that in Spider Verse.
Yeah.
Whatever. Maybe we can only hope.
Well,
And
as
your
I
number
as I've
is
been
not.
saying, yep, as I've been saying this whole time, my number one is Gwen. I've been saying that. I
No, she's an honorable mention.
uh I love Gwen in this movie. I relate a lot to her character, as I said, because of all the coding and stuff that they did with her character, and just genuinely, she's such a moving character in this movie. The way her relationship with her father, her relationship with Miles, all of it just works, and it's it's truly emotional. Every time I cried in this movie, besides once, was because of Gwen. There was
So
one
you,
sequence with Miles, the whole sequence where he was freaked out about his dad dying got me really close to crying. Like I did shed a tear or two. But every time I got really emotional it was with Gwen because Gwen is amazingly done here. Like I said, I love how much it grows on her character in the first movie while still feeling like the same character.
so you loved her in this movie, but you hated her in the first.
I loved her in the first movie, but she just didn't have enough character work to be as high as Miles or Peter in the first movie. But here, she truly gets a glow up, and it's wonderful.
I wonder
And
what
then
my number.
yeah, I know you're number one. You could say it.
I'm trying to think. Who could be my? This is hard.
Just say it.
What do I pick?
Fuck you. I know what it is. Just say it.
Miles. Yeah.
Yep.
You know why? You know why he's number one?
Because he's relatable. He's the main character. He has all the character work and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can
And
say it. Say it. Say it
and
yourself.
and and nah, he's gonna do his own thing. That's why.
But
Because everyone's showing him how his story's supposed to go. Jerks.
well, if that's all you're saying about Miles, well then let's get to the final
Well,
thoughts about the movie then.
for me, so thank you.
What?
I was gonna say all that, but you said it for me. So thank you.
Well, say it from your own words then. Say what you
Oh,
personally thought about it.
said it. We can't repeat it.
Fine. Okay, the final thoughts of the movie.
Okay, I'm listening.
You go first.
No, you.
I don't want you to just say I was saying all the same things you were gonna say. So you go first.
Okay, yeah. Overall, like I said at the beginning, not sure right now whether I'd actually prefer it over the first movie, but still, even if I don't, still it's amazing movie. And every basically all the main characters here were handled very, very well. And again, very relatable with a lot of aspects of it, like with Miles. And great movie. And again, might have to rewatch it to fully, uh, decide whether it's the superior sequel or not. But as of right now, I'd say it's pretty on par. But that's still same. That's still saying a lot if you think about it.
Yeah, considering Into the Spider Verse like your favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
Now,
Like,
as I
like
said, oh
I
sorry,
was, no, I would say I was a little skeptical still going into it because like, I really didn't think they could. Like, I didn't think it would be bad, but I still had a little part of me thinking, could they really do it again? You
and they
know,
did.
they did. But can they do it a third time?
Yep, well, that's to be seen. But
Well,
for my final thoughts on the movie, like I said, we're coming from very different places. One time to four times is such a big difference, especially with a movie like this, where there's so many little details and so many different things. Like I said,
like
there's a
what?
lot there's a lot more details I've picked up on rewatches. I think
Sure.
I think my first view analysis would have been a little more bare bones like yours was, where I would have still had things to say about the characters, but I had so much more having seen it more times, especially seeing it twice in a row, which is the first time I've ever done that for a movie in theaters. But it's wonderful. It besides those last like 20-25 minutes, hell, it might not even be that much. It might just be like the final 10-15. Because I think it's after, even though I said there could have been places to end it before, I think it works really well up until right after Gwen's argument with her dad.
Mm,
If I was doing it, I would have ended it there because it still would have ended with Gwen, like their plan clearly was. So I would have ended it there when she went through the portal. But
mm,
that being said, I still do like the last 10-15 minutes of the movie. I still think they're good, even if a little slow. And overall, I think it's a wonderful movie. Besides those last like 15 minutes, I actually think it's really well paced up until that final chunk. I,
mm.
I think overall it's a pretty well paced movie, even if the end is pretty slow. I think the rest of it's really well done. I think it's very well written, very well directed, very well animated. All of that. It's it's a technical marvel. The voice
Vi-
acting is amazing. Haley Steinfeld and Shamik Moore, or yeah, I think that's his name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I was pretty sure. I didn't want to look it up because I figured if I didn't know you would. But yeah, I got it right. Okay. But yeah, those two especially, and Oscar Isaac, all three of them give wonderful performances. All of them bring so much life to their characters. None of their characters would be as good without their performances.
Good job,
And
Oscar. Like three Marvel characters.
and he has to live up to other people who this is their like second full movie doing the Lotus for. He still gets to do just as good of a job. Also, as I also said, Jason Schwartzman, I think is his name, did amazingly well as the Spot.
Mm-hmm.
He delivered that perfect balance of charisma and threatening fierceness. And
Yup.
overall, it's a wonderful movie. As I said, after rewatches, I do think it's better than the first, and I love the first too. Both movies are in my top 10 favorite movies. I love both of them, but I do think I preferred Across Spider Verse. Now, to be, I feel like I should say this. I do think if Beyond the Spider Verse does not live up to expectations, I do think I'd like Into the Spider Verse more than Across because of how Across ends. If the ending doesn't, if the second half of the story doesn't live up to the first half,
Okay, but
but
what if Beyond the Spider Verse is better?
I'd be surprised.
Like it's, come on, that'd be top tier comic book movies.
I think if Beyond the Spider Verse is good, this would probably be my favorite film trilogy, just in general.
Oh, now it is Mr. Guardians of the Galaxy, Robert.
Recently, I was thinking about that one, and I think the third one requires too much insider knowledge
Oh,
from
remember
other movies.
we were talking about that the other day? I was
I
telling
think
you,
I think
Beyond is
volumes I think
that.
volumes 1 and 2 work better as a cohesive unit than Into the Spider Verse and Across Spider Verse, but I think Into, Across, and Beyond will work better than 1, 2, and 3 because
But if the
there is such a gap between 2 and 3.
oh yeah, 6 years.
And multiple movies with the characters.
But if they made a fourth one, what would it be called?
I don't know. But as it
Spider-Man.
stands, I Across Spider-Verse I do think is better than Into the Spider-Verse, and if Beyond Spider-Verse lives up to expectations, I don't think it'll be my favorite of the series. I think there's no way it tops Across Spider-Verse. This one just impacted me too much emotionally for that.
It just has to be as good.
Yes, it has to be as good as Into the Spider-Verse.
All we need.
But it's great. I Across Spider-Verse could not recommend it enough. It's wonderful. It's such a well-made movie. But that does
good
it,
job.
I think.
Yeah.
After over an hour, we finally got it done.
An hour.
Yep, hour and 20 minutes.
What the fuck? You kept me on here for an hour and 20 minutes. You said this would take 10 minutes.
I did not say it would take 10 minutes. I said it'd probably take quite a while, but I didn't think it'd take almost a whole Morbius. But with that said, I think that does it.
Yep.
Well,
Everyone go see Across the Spider-Verse
if you haven't
exclusively
already, for some reason, even though we basically spoiled the whole movie,
in movie theaters.
it is a movie to be seen that needs to be seen to be believed. And if you have seen it, go see it again.
And if you've seen it again, see it again.
Just listen to me. If you've seen it once and you loved it, go see it again. I think it's better on rewatches because all the little details. But anyway, that wraps it up. So that said, hope to see y'all later. Peace out.
Bye.